Welcome to the Vaughan Nelson podcast. Today is the fourth quarter 2025 Vaughan Nelson Small Cap Value Recap. And with me today is lead senior portfolio manager, Chris Wallis. And with that, Chris, I will turn things over to you.
You bet. Thanks, Dan. Just real quick on the fourth quarter, we continued to see positive equity market performance in the United States. It's really driven by two primary factors, which is falling inflationary pressures and improvements in underlying growth, with broadening growth out beyond just the tech space into consumer and also into the industrial sector. We think that growth is going to continue to improve and inflation will remain tame at least through the first half of 2026. And so these two positive economic developments led to not just lower interest rates, but more importantly, falling equity risk premiums driving the rally in equities. With the strong rally we saw really in the back half of 25, some price consolidation may be necessary, but really do expect conditions to remain relatively supportive for equity markets. I think going forward, the biggest headwind to further gains will be the need for continued increases in liquidity because we are going to have to finance the improvement in economic growth without kind of crowding out risk assets. If you look at the overall portfolio as a result of buys and sells and market action, the largest moves in sector weightings were increases in industrial, energy, communication services, and consumer staple sectors, and decreases in the financial sector, where we had two or three positions that were acquired that we exited. During the quarter, the portfolio experienced positive absolute and positive relative performance. The strongest performance was most notable in technology, industrials, consumer staples, and real estate on a relative basis. And the largest detractors were in healthcare, consumer discretionary materials, and the financial sector.
All right, very good. Well, thank you so much, Chris. And with that, we will move to returns in the fourth quarter of 2025. The Vaughan Nelson Small Cap Value Strategy returned 5.32% gross, 5.0% net, and that 5.07% net, and that's versus the Russell 2000 value at 3.26%. Over the course of the past 1 year, for the full year of 2025, Vaughan Nelson Small Cap Value returned 13.44% gross, 12.33% net, and the Russell 2000 value is at 12.59%. Over the past 3 years, 15.2% gross for Vaughan Nelson Small Cap Value, 14.06% net, and 11.73 for the Russell 2000 value. Over the past 5 years, the Vaughan Nelson Small Cap Value Strategy has returned 12.99% gross, 11.88% net, and the Russell 2000 value is at 8.88%. And last, over the course of the past 10 years, the Vaughan Nelson Small Cap Value Strategy has returned 11.16% gross, 10.06% net, and the Russell 2000 value sits at 9.27%. And with that, Chris, that's a wrap on 2025. So thank you very much, and we'll hear from you again here soon.
Sounds good.
The views, information, and/or opinions expressed during this podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Vaughan Nelson and its employees. Vaughan Nelson does not verify and assumes no responsibility for the accuracy of any of the information contained in the podcast. The primary purpose of the information, opinions, and thoughts presented in this podcast is to educate and inform. This podcast, or any podcast in the series, does not constitute professional investment advice or services, and any reliance on the information provided is done at your own risk. Past performance is not an indication of future performance. By accessing this podcast, you acknowledge that the entire contents of this podcast are the property of Vaughan Nelson or used by Vaughan Nelson with permission and are protected under U.S. copyright and trademark laws. Securities discussed within this podcast may be held in the Vaughan Nelson strategies.